Right, Chelsea won, Crystal Palace won. This was a game where we saw both some of the best and some of the worst that this Chelsea team has to offer. And as well as that, some of the most horrendous and inconsistent refereeing that I have seen in a long, long time. Let's speak about today's game. But people, before we get into all that, welcome back to the Joey Knight podcast. If you are new around here, if you like the content and you want to see more from myself, please hit the subscribe button right now. Please do me a favour. I know it's not high spirits, but at least we didn't lose. Smash the like button. Let's get into the video. Right, so you can see the starting lineup that we went with on screen now. And to be honest, pretty much full strength for what we have available at the moment. Obviously, Malo Gusto being the fullback that inverts in that starting lineup. I've still got some question marks around that. I do think that Malo Gusto had a good match. He obviously came off injured late on, and I do think that he has the ability and the technique to be able to pull off that inverted role. However, I do think that when Enzo Maresca speaks about the fact that he watched so much of Chelsea, you would imagine that he'd have watched enough of us to understand that Cucurella is probably the better option out of those two at doing that, from the stellar performances that he was putting in, time out last season when he was doing it. But Malo Gusto being the one that inverts, and he was joining Moises Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez in that midfield. By the way, I just dripped my head there, or wiped my head I should say. It's absolutely roasting in here, but don't worry, we move on with it. Now, Noni Madueke, Cole Palmer and Pedro Neto as the forward line. Whether you would have maybe Nkunku in there, João Felix in there, and maybe even the man who wasn't available today in Jadon Sancho in there, or you might be absolutely off your nut and have Mudryk in there. I think we can all agree that that is a very strong forward line, and a forward line that, let's be honest, should be capable of beating Crystal Palace and Nicholas Jackson up front. Now, Chelsea actually started this match really, really well. I really can't fault our performance in the first half. I can definitely raise questions to some of our clinicalness. However, one thing that I've got to praise here, right, and it wasn't something that let us down in the long run. It wasn't the reason we didn't win this match. Maybe it didn't continue as much in the second half, although I do still think that it wasn't a problem for us at all, and that was the ability to play out from the back. I've got to give credit where credit is due. I do think that the defenders and Robert Sanchez did a very good job in playing out from the back at times. It wasn't the same as the match at Molineux against Wolves, where it actually led to goals, but it did lead to chances created, and it did work really well early on against Crystal Palace. We did actually come very close a few times as well against Crystal Palace. Cole Palmer curling a shot just around the post. Noni Madueke had a couple of chances. One of them was a great save from Dean Henderson, who's got to go down as Palace's man of the match today, and the other was a chance that he really will look back on and feel with how clinical he was against Wolverhampton Wanderers, and how clinical he has shown to be when he goes through on goal sometimes, that it was a gilt-edged chance, and it was a chance that he really should have converted, and we will regret massively the fact that he didn't convert that chance. Now, in the midst of Chelsea playing some great football and transitioning from defence to attack in a matter of not even seconds, probably half seconds, was Will Hughes. Now, Will Hughes, in the first half, for my money, look, I'm no referee, do you know what I mean? But in the first half, for my money, I thought Will Hughes committed 3 or 4, maybe even 4 or 5 bookable offences. He only actually got booked for one of them, by the way. We'll come back to Will Hughes, but 25 minutes in, Chelsea show why, in my opinion, we are one of the best counter-attacking teams in this Premier League. You know, we win the ball in defence. I think it was Fofana. If not, it might have been Colwell. But straight away, he gets the ball on to Noni Madueke. Noni Madueke beats his man, skips past him, and then moves the ball forward onto Cole Palmer. Now, Cole Palmer could have toe punted it. He could have put his foot through it. He could have taken a shot or been selfish, like maybe Raheem Sterling may have been. But he waits a beautiful pass to the back post, and in doing so grabs his 4th assist of the season already. He's definitely going to be the top for assists, isn't he, in the Premier League this season, you'd imagine. And in doing so helps Nicholas Jackson grab his 2nd goal of the season. Now, Very, very dominant from Chelsea in the first half, both in possession and just in our general play. We were first to a lot of balls. We didn't really give Crystal Palace a sniff for the most part. However, I did go in, or when Chelsea went in, I should say, at halftime, I did have my concerns because I always look at matches and think, when you're on top, you really need to smell blood and you really need to put your chances away. And ultimately, I know this might sound mad coming in off the back of the scoreline that we recorded against Wolves at Molineux, but that was what won us the match, wasn't it? It was that when we got Wolves on the ropes, we let our hands go. We went for the kill, to use a boxing analogy here. And when we had Crystal Palace on the ropes in that first half, there was too many chances that we should have converted that we weren't able to convert, and we really did live to regret that. However, right, people, I just want to quickly take this opportunity to tell you about new partners of the channel, Squawka. When you're in the YouTube industry like I am, there is a certain type of service that you could very much do with having on your side, and that is the service that stops you making blunders. And when I'm preparing for some of my videos, I use the website Squawka to use the player comparison matrix, and that helps me get a better understanding of comparing the players that I'm talking about. For example, a lot of you guys know that for every Chelsea game, I put out my preferred starting lineup, and I do look into the underlying numbers of the players I'm picking and the players that I'm comparing, and that's where Squawka comes in. They offer the best player comparison matrix on the internet. The website is so efficient and so easy that even I can use it. For example, when I'm picking from Chelsea's 30 to 40 odd wingers that we've got at the club, I can very easily jump onto Squawka and see how their stats compare. But you don't need to be a YouTuber to need to use Squawka. You could use it for your bets when you're betting on first goal scorer and things like that. It could give you a better indication. Or you could just use it to look like a genius down the pub, and we all like to do that, don't we? So thank you very much to Squawka for not only helping me prepare for my videos, but also partnering up with the channel. So help support me by supporting the guys that support the channel in Squawka. They are linked in the description for this video. Let's get back into it. When the second half begins, that man Will Hughes, right? He lets Cole Palmer get past him, but he doesn't let Cole Palmer get past him. He wraps both arms around Cole Palmer and brings Cole Palmer down on the edge of the area. Now, had Cole Palmer have been one-on-one with the goalkeeper, it would have been a straight red card. It should have been a straight red card if he had been one-on-one, but he wasn't. There was Palace defenders there, and I can understand why, for that reason, it just should have been the second yellow. I'm expecting him to get sent off, and the referee does not send Will Hughes off. Now, in almost a admission of guilt, Oliver Glasner, the Palace manager, straight away takes Will Hughes off the pitch. He understands that he has committed 6 bookable offences by now, and someone up there is looking down on Crystal Palace today, and for that reason, he has not been sent off. Palace are not down to 10 men, and Chelsea are still playing against 11 men and a Will Hughes that cannot stop fouling anyone, but he can, because Glasner brings him off. Glasner brings him off and puts on Cheick Doucouré, and I knew from the second he brought him off what was going to happen. Doucouré was going to be involved in a goal for Crystal Palace, and moments later, he is. Ball comes out from a corner, he has his shot hit, deflected, I think it was blocked actually. Will Hughes, Doucouré, see, even I'm getting confused now, for fuck's sake. Doucouré has his shot blocked, right, by the defender. It then falls to Eze, and Eze curls in a beautiful shot. Robert Sanchez dives for it, but maybe that one was for the cameras. He was never getting to it, I don't think. Would another goalkeeper have? I don't know. Maybe Petrovic would have, but who knows. Ultimately, I'm not going to go in on Robert Sanchez for it. He can't keep a clean sheet for love nor money, Robert Sanchez. Can anyone tell me when the last time he kept one was? I really don't know when. But I'm not going to go in on him for it. It was what it was, to be honest. And, yeah, ultimately not much in the way of clear-cut chances for the rest of the second half, because once Palace got the goal, they just fucking parked the bus, didn't they, really? Looked to catch us on the counter-attack, weren't committing men forward even when they did, still kept pretty much every man behind the ball and would maybe let 2 go forward. And it meant that Chelsea were just having to chase the game, wriggle through tight spaces, and we weren't able to do it, you know. We were nowhere near as potent as we were in that first half. But I think what came into it was the fact that Palace were looking to win the game in the first half, and they were looking to survive and cling on to the lead in the second half. Nicholas Jackson did have a couple of chances just before the end of the match, but nothing that he was really able to convert. And coming away from the match, 1-1. Do you know what? I'm not going to give a Chelsea player as man of the match. I'm going to give Dean Henderson it. I think it's the first time on this channel that I've given an opposition player a man of the match rating, but he was their best player because he made a few vital saves, especially towards the end of the 90th minute or 90 odd minutes into the game, where Palace would have conceded there and we would have ended up being able to at least go against everything we had going against us in that second half and in the match in general, and we could have pulled off a result there. But we speak about what was going against us. Listen, the referee was completely awful in this one. Absolutely rubbish. And not only did he bottle multiple big decisions, he just showed no consistency, you know. He let Palace players commit fouls on multiple occasions without showing them a yellow card. And I understand, right, if you're attempting to take some sort of sting out of the game, but then you're going to be consistent and you're going to do it on both sides, then I can completely understand and get my head around why you would then do that. It's listen, a tactic maybe used to navigate how you go forward in a game and let the game flow, you know. But he wasn't doing that. He actually was not doing that, you know. Kamada, right, for Palace, he committed, 4 fouls? All 4, I would say, were bookable offences, but I understand that maybe you're not going to book him. Well, you can't book him 4 times, he'd be off the pitch twice, but I understand that you can't book him for every single one. But then you have Pedro Neto, who commits 1 foul and gets 1 booking. Will Hughes could have been booked about 6, 7, 8 times today. It's absolutely ridiculous he was not sent off, and that directly leads to Palace getting back into the match, because if Palace don't have the player that they subbed on for Will Hughes, then they don't score the goal. The shot is not blocked and it doesn't drop to Eberechi Eze on the edge of the penalty area. Not only that, it would have been 11 against 10 men, and if they park the bus with 11 men on the field, which they did in the second half, you can fucking bet your bottom dollar they're going to park it with 10 men on the field, but we would have had a numerical advantage over them in that second half, you know. So for the ref as well, so many other blunders. Like, you look at the Nicholas Jackson booking. The Nicholas Jackson goes through on goal. The ref apparently blows the whistle. Nicholas Jackson should, in the opinion of the referee, have stopped and not put the ball in the back of the net. But he still shoots and he puts the ball in the back of the net. Can I definitively say that Nicholas Jackson did not hear the whistle? No, I can't. I can't. He claims he didn't hear the whistle. I am not going to sit here and say he didn't hear the whistle. But you know what? As easy as it is for the ref to whistle, someone in the crowd could whistle. And when you look at the way that the game is going at the moment, when you look at the fact that goals are and transitions of play are let to play on, and then at the end of it, you'll see the linesman then raise his flag, or the referee then blow his whistle, because they don't want to interfere with anything, because maybe, for example, the VAR could show them that their on-field decision was wrong, and therefore they don't want to interrupt the game and, you know, make even more blunders. I don't see how you can come down harsh on Nicholas Jackson and give him a yellow card for that. I'll tell you what I definitely don't see, and that is the yellow card that he gave to Cole Palmer. Now, if Cole Palmer, right, so I'll explain to anyone that didn't see it. Cole Palmer fails to control the ball, I think it is, and it goes out for a Crystal Palace throw-in. Now, by the way, as I say, they had 11 men behind the ball, so they were in no rush to take that throw-in either way. It's not like Cole Palmer kicks it away when there's a Palace man already there to take the throw-in. It's nothing like the Declan Rice one that we saw yesterday. Cole Palmer is on his own there. He fails to control the ball. He then, out of frustration, kicks the ball at the billboard, right, the advertisement board. Now, that ball ends up, in way of him kicking it there, ends up coming back to the Crystal Palace players to take the throw-in even quicker, right? If Cole Palmer taps it against that and doesn't show any visible frustration, he doesn't get booked. He doesn't get booked. But the fact that it looked like he was frustrated then forced the referee to book him, I reckon, and that's how I saw it. And again, it's just such a poor decision. if we're speaking about poor decisions, we can speak about poor performances. I didn't really rate Enzo Fernandez's performance today, and it's even more reason why when I look at a strongest Chelsea 11, which, by the way, I am going to do this. I'm going to give you lot. Now I've seen a little bit of the football and I've seen a couple of games. I'm going to give you lot on paper, because we do have a big squad, my strongest Chelsea 11 going forward. And obviously, we can't fit every single one of Pedro Neto, Christopher Nkunku, João Felix and everyone else in there. So there will be some notable exclusions. But I'll give you a spoiler right now. I don't think I'd have Enzo Fernandez in there, because you see in the second half, Enzo Fernandez wasn't great in the first half, but you see in the second half as well, right? One of the things that hindered us massively is when you're trying to break down a low block, you need players that are intricate and able to do that. And I'm not saying, listen, we just rely all our hopes on Cole Palmer, but we at least need him to be up there near the goal. And what was happening with Cole Palmer? He was constantly dropping deep because Enzo Fernandez, this man who's able to play make from the base of midfield, was not there to be able to do any of that. So Cole Palmer was having to come and do some of his work for him, you know. I look at Romeo Lavia, and I'm going to use Squawka, who are obviously the sponsors of this video, to compare some of the stats from Romeo Lavia this season to Enzo Fernandez this season per 90, and then we can pull some of them up. But I just don't feel like Enzo Fernandez, when a team is playing a low block against us or when a team's parking the bus against us, has any idea what to do there. And he doesn't put a price tag on his head, but at the moment, there's no one really keeping him out of that side. When Romeo Lavia comes back in there, if he's fit and available, I'm going to start him next to Caicedo, and I don't want people telling me that we're missing out on the ability of Enzo Fernandez to create from deep, because he didn't really show much in the way of doing so today. Now, listen, I don't want to overreact on this performance. It was obviously a bit of a shame for me to see us get worse in the second half after, you know, we got better in the second half against Wolves, and I thought it was a trait of Mauricio Pochettino that we had managed to get rid of under Enzo Maresca. I'm not saying that one bad second half means that we're going to have multiple more, but it was a really disappointing one in the second half. What went wrong for us in the second half? Well, listen, again, I'm going to sound like sour grapes here and you can call me a sore loser, but what went wrong for us was refereeing decisions in that game were very, very poor. We should have had a numerical advantage. Will Hughes should have been off the pitch. And you can say, oh, well, hold on, Palace scored a goal either way. Yes, they scored a goal as a result of it dropping on the edge of the area to a phenomenal player in Eze after a player who should not have been on the pitch had a shot blocked. And if you should have been on the pitch, you shouldn't have been on the pitch with them having 11 men. Either way, if Doucouré came on, because he came on for Will Hughes, who should have been off the pitch. The referee had a fucking shocker in that one. What an absolute idiot that man is. Yeah, really, really disappointing, because going into the international break now, I don't feel like Chelsea's performances maybe warrant 4 points. I feel like they warrant 6 points. I understand that, listen, we were all right against Man City. We weren't that bad against Man City, but there's no prizes for second place, and Man City did deserve to win the match. I understand that. Fair enough. But, listen, we smashed Wolves, and I feel like today, on the run of play, we should have beaten Crystal Palace. It was our own fault in many ways for not being more clinical with our chances. Noni Madueke had a great game against Wolves, completely outperformed expectations, but maybe will rue the chances that he missed today. Nicholas Jackson had 2 chances late on, one that hit the side netting and one that Dean Henderson, who I gave man of the match to, did get down to save, but he really should be scoring those chances when he goes through there. Obviously, second half also, you had Mykhailo Mudryk came on. If Jadon Sancho, the man that was unveiled early on, had have came on, then I think that we would have had a better chance in that second half, rather than Mudryk, who just looks lost every time he's on the pitch. Does the result of the match come down to him? Absolutely no way. I'm not suggesting that, but I am saying that Jadon Sancho would be a lot better in there. It just wasn't our day today, you know. It could be worse. We could have lost to Crystal Palace. It would have been the first time we had a loss to them in about 15 games or something like that. Or first time we hadn't beat them in about 15 games, something like that. So It's not an absolute disaster, but the momentum of having this international break now is completely why do we need it right now? Oh, fuck, you need an international break right now. We've just got the Premier League back. We've just had an international tournament. We haven't even got a manager, England. Not that they, design the international calendar around England's specific requirements and needs and who they have or haven't got in a job. But either way, I'm pissed off with it. We don't need the international break now. We just had a load of international football. Let's crack on with the Premier League. Obviously, we've got some games now that we should be heading into as favourites, but we definitely need to put our chances away a lot more, We probably outperformed our XG against Wolves, and we underperformed it today, if you even go on XG. So, I don't know. I'm not all doom and gloom, to be honest, with the performance. I think that, as I say, over the run of 3 matches so far, every team in the Premier League's decent, man. Every team in the Premier League's decent, but 2 decent teams and 1 team that I wouldn't expect to beat in Man City. I'm fairly happy with our performances so far, but ultimately more needs to be done. More does need to be done, especially in front of goal, and especially really finishing teams off when you got your foot on their throat. I know I told you that I'd be in the studio with Josh today. We are going to get in the studio very, very soon together. I'm sorry, guys, we couldn't make it happen today. But we are going to get in the studio together very soon. I've obviously got my fight coming up, man. I'm really, really prepping for that and putting a lot of time and effort in towards that. But I'm still trying to get you lot the videos banged out on this channel. So I'm really, really, really intrigued to hear your thoughts as to where the match went wrong. Where did it go wrong today? Am I passing the buck almost on certain individual underperformances or managerial underperformances even? Or do you think it's as simple as Palace should have been down to 10 men multiple times? They maybe should have been down to 9 men, in that match. They got away with one. They had a lot of grace from the referee on their side, and therefore it gave them the ability to be able to come back into the match when they did get their chance. That's my opinion, but you lot can tell me why I'm wrong in the comment section below, and I'll be open to hearing different opinions on it. People, please hit the like button because it really helps me out. I will see you all in the next one.